Story 1. Susan G. Komen for the Cure is an organization that claims to support breast cancer research but primarily benefits its board members financially. Wounded Warrior Project is an organization I have worked with from the beginning as a veteran. This organization appears to focus more on promoting lavish trips than providing adequate care for wounded veterans, such as a 19-year-old Marine who lost his legs and testicles and cannot receive proper treatment through the Department of Veterans Affairs. It is regrettable that there is no accountability for the board members. Story 2. Smithfield Farms is a company I refuse to support for two major reasons. 1. Repeated reports and investigations have linked their operations to human trafficking and exploitation of vulnerable laborers. Despite publicly promising to phase out gestation crates for pregnant pigs years ago, they have consistently stalled or avoided real progress. I am not here to tell people to stop eating pork, but how that pork is produced matters deeply in both public health and agricultural ethics. I say this as a person from a family of pig farmers. Gestation crates are one of the most inhumane practices still allowed in industrial farming. They confine pregnant sows in metal cages so small the animals cannot turn around. The sows are forced to stand or lie on bare concrete, staring at the same wall for months. No sunlight, no straw, no social contact, no stimulation. Just boredom, pain, and isolation. Pigs are intelligent, social creatures capable of experiencing deep emotional stress. Under these conditions, pigs often show signs of psychological breakdown. Numerous undercover investigations have documented pigs biting the bars compulsively, frothing, foaming, rocking back and forth, screaming, or becoming completely silent. They appear visibly miserable and broken. To make matters worse, because the animals are so stressed and immunocompromised, producers use large amounts of antibiotics such as Carbadox, a drug considered carcinogenic and banned in many countries. This is not just about animal welfare. It concerns the ethics of our entire food system. Smithfield is well aware of these issues and has chosen profit over reform. For this reason, I cannot, in good conscience, support them. The company sells pork products through retailers including Costco. Do not be fooled by the name. Smithfield might sound like a small, traditional American farm, but it is not. It is a massive industrial conglomerate with millions of pigs kept in back-to-back factory-style warehouses. The company is owned by a Chinese billionaire and operates on a scale that dwarfs the romanticized idea of family farming. This is factory farming at its most brutal. Story 3. Airbnb is a major part of the housing crisis. Hotels are much cheaper and do not have cleaning fees. Story 4. CVS, the most cutthroat pharmaceutical company I have ever experienced, treats their workers poorly. There is only one person working in the entire front store and one person in the back, while the chief executive officer makes $60 million a year. Pathetic. A pharmacist suffered a heart attack and died a few years ago due to the stress they caused her. Story 5. Hewlett-Packard. They make poor quality products with poor business practices. Edit. Not the Hewlett-Packard that makes brown sauce for food, but the Hewlett-Packard that produces colored sauces for paper. Story 6. As difficult as it can sometimes be, I have not been in a Walmart in over a decade since I read an article about how many Walmart workers still require food banks and government assistance to survive. Why should these groups be subsidizing the poverty-level wages paid by the Walton family, one of the richest families in America and probably the world? Story 7. Dollar General. I used to go there all the time. In December 2023, I ran in to grab last-minute items when the employees stopped me and loudly accused me of being a thief. I have never been in trouble in my life, let alone shoplifted from anywhere. He refused to show me proof or the picture he claimed to have. After much insistence, he admitted that I was not the person in the picture. I continued shopping but was followed the entire time as if I were an actual thief. At checkout, I asked for management's contact information because I was very upset about being publicly called a thief in a small town when it was not true. The employee then took my basket of items, threw them against the wall, almost hitting another older lady, and told me to leave immediately. He refused service and threatened me. I am 45 years old and was in total shock. I immediately called the Dollar General hotline, left messages and emails. I was never contacted and no action was taken against the employee. 6 months later, the same employee was arrested for domestic violence involving a hammer in front of their 3-year-old child. I will never shop there again. Story 8. Walmart and Sam's Club exploit their workers to the point they offer workshops on how employees can apply for government aid such as Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, Medicaid, and Section 8 housing assistance. They deliberately give employees part-time status to avoid providing benefits. I will not support billionaires with my money while my tax dollars also have to support their employees. Costco receives my business because I do not feel like I am exploiting anyone by shopping there. Story 9. Goodwill. They overprice their products, sell more valuable items separately, and underpay their employees with disabilities. Please consider donating your old clothing to other charity organizations. If you are in the Acadiana area in Louisiana, the Arc of Acadiana directly funds programs for people who are developmentally delayed or disabled and their families. They also provide jobs for these individuals and want them to be successful and secure. Story 10. I know that an outfit I get from a department store nearby may also have questionable origins, but I do my best to avoid obvious fast fashion and definitely avoid shine. Story 11. Walmart. I grew up in a small farming community in the 1970s and 1980s and witnessed firsthand the impact when Walmart arrived. It destabilized the local economy and devastated small businesses by undercutting wages and exploiting labor. All the while, they made exceptional profits. No one will ever convince me that the Walton family deserves anything other than accountability and, frankly, incarceration. Story 12. Any metaverse platform. Facebook and Instagram threads need to be replaced by platforms that do not actively hate and exploit their users. Story 13. Spirit Airlines would not allow me to reschedule a flight to the following week without my father's oncologist submitting 17 completed forms confirming he was starting chemotherapy. My dad had stage 4 cancer. Could you imagine asking a cancer doctor to sit down and fill out 17 forms so a cancer patient's daughter can reschedule a weekend trip? I am very upset with Spirit Airlines. Story 14. Amazon. I will go to great lengths to track down the manufacturer of whatever I need and order from them directly before I give another dollar to Jeff Bezos. I also know how hard Amazon makes it on small companies to succeed, and I want no part of it. Story 15. People for the ethical treatment of animals. Not only do they keep the majority of the proceeds, but only about 1% of the animals they save are successfully adopted. The vast majority are euthanized by people for the ethical treatment of animals. Do not tell me you saved a dog if you killed it. There are probably 100 other reasons not to support them, but those are the main ones. Story 16. Autism speaks. Instead of listening to and supporting autistic people, they have been fighting for a cure. Newsflash: autism is not a disease you cure. It is a different type of brain wiring. They take in all the money and give little to none toward actual services for autistic individuals. Story 17. Comcast Xfinity. They punish you for saving money by buying your own equipment. Their arbitrary data caps increase your bill unless you use their equipment for their internet packages. As soon as I found out T-Mobile was installing fiber internet service in my area, I dropped Comcast immediately. I claimed I was moving to another country. That half-truth got me out of what felt like a toxic relationship, and now I am free as a bird. Story 18. Chevrolet, Ford, General Motors Company. There is absolutely no excuse for making poor quality vehicles that fail at 100,000 miles. It is bad engineering. These companies can make vehicles that last 250,000 miles or more easily. They simply choose not to, and then have the audacity to ask for premium prices. Thank you for the $75,000. Here is your defective vehicle. I am referring to transmissions, engines, starters, alternators, and sensors. Do not attribute your losses to, well, it does have 50,000 miles. They sold you a low-quality product. Story 19. Any news organization that hides breaking news behind a paywall is on my blacklist. Edit. Come to think of it, even without the paywall, I found much of today's media to be reprehensible. They are more focused on entertainment than on reporting the facts. Story 20. Amazon. No one person in the world needs to have that much money, and people do not need nearly as many things as they think. We have more storage units than ever in this country because companies like Amazon continue to push the idea that you need these items, when really 85% are not necessary. They treat their workers very poorly. Story 21. Even if I had the means to spend money on Chanel clothes, shoes, bags, and so on, I would not because she was an unpleasant person. Story 22. Nestle and General Motors are criticized for their practices. Nestle is known for policies on water and products containing harmful chemicals. General Motors is criticized for poor quality products and for paying large bonuses to managers after receiving government bailouts in 2008. Both companies have faced significant public disapproval. Story 23, Shine, Temu, and AliExpress, which are all part of the Alibaba Group, promote unethical manufacturing practices and contribute to wastefulness. Story 24. The wonderful company and their owners, the Resnicks, have been involved in troubling activities. I used to enjoy their salt and pepper pistachios, but after learning about their actions regarding water rights and advocating for war in foreign countries to monopolize industries, I will no longer purchase their products. No one should. Pomegranate juice does not have the antioxidant properties that some studies claimed. Those studies were sponsored and manipulated by Resnick-employed scientists, similar to how the tobacco industry influenced research about cigarettes. Additionally, their products are available from other companies. Story 25. Subway treats their franchise owners very poorly. I also grew up seeing their annoying advertisements. Story 26. As a former owner of the fraudulently represented Volkswagen turbocharged direct injection diesel car, where they manipulated the onboard software to make a dirty drivetrain appear clean, I would never look at another Volkswagen. Story 27. I will not support any business, small or large, that brags about how Christian they are or puts crosses and doves all over their advertising. Nothing against Christians, but businesses that show off how devout they are usually corrupt. Story 28. I didn't realize I was boycotting so many things because I don't support their business practices or the owner's ideals. Chick-fil-A, Target, SHEIN, and other fast fashion brands, Amazon, Walmart. But my absolute no, never for any reason, is Walgreens. They failed to protect a minor employee from a coworker who was making her uncomfortable with his advances. He killed her in the Walgreens break room, took them hours to find her body. It shouldn't have been possible, but it happened without any obstacles in his plan. Walgreens should go out of business for the multiple failures to protect not only their employee but their employee who was a child. Rest in peace, Riley Whitelaw. Story 29. I have not gotten gas at a British petroleum station for 15 years. I know most major gas companies have had devastating spills, but the Gulf oil spill was the first one I witnessed in person. I have never forgiven them for it. Story 30. Anything related to Meta. I canceled Facebook, Threads, and Instagram because of Mark Zuckerberg's post-election actions. Story 31. Wreaths across America should be helping veterans more, but the founder, who owns the tree farm that is the exclusive supplier for the wreaths, keeps way more money than he donates. If you want to help United States veterans, give elsewhere. Story 32. United Way. I had a friend who used to raise tens of thousands of dollars for them every year. When his wife died, he needed help. They thoughtfully declined. Story 33. One of my local grocery chains is wholly owned by a single family. A member of that family serves in the state legislature and has twice introduced bills for a two-tiered minimum wage to exploit workers under 18. Paying teenagers less is common, but they want it codified into law. Story 34. Hobby Lobby made sure women's access to birth control was taken away because they did not believe it was necessary due to their religion. There are many other reasons as well, but that is the main one. Story 35. Subway priced themselves out of the market, and the issues with their spokesperson did not help. They used to be a go-to option for a broke student who could get multiple footlong sandwiches for $5 and eat for a couple of days. Now, their quality has declined, their prices are too high, and they are slower than a sit-down restaurant, which would also be cheaper. Honestly, McDonald's has gone the same way, but I have a 7-year-old, so it is harder to avoid. Story 36. Jimmy John's. Their owner participates in private safari hunts where big game is enclosed and can be shot. That behavior is unacceptable. Story 37. Goodwill and the Salvation Army. Let us pretend to help unfortunate people who need it while doing the exact opposite. When I have good items to donate, I go to St. Vincent, Delaware Paul every time. Even though it is a bit of a drive, I refuse to give anything of value to the other two. Story 38. Nike and most other popular sneaker brands pay hundreds of dollars for shoes that cost $10 to make using exploitative labor. This is not something I support. Additionally, I am frugal. Story 39. Airbnb for their active role in the destruction of the housing market, particularly in tourist areas. Story 40. Target. I was a Target customer for years. Their behavior this year makes me sick to my stomach. I used to go there to relax and look at cute or silly items. Every time I think about going back, I remember that it is no longer fun or relaxing. It is just sad. It makes me sad. Story 41. I am Canadian. I do not support United States companies if I can avoid it. Those that I am more open to have employees in Canada. Story 42. I stopped ordering from Papa John's during the passage of the Affordable Care Act because the founder and CEO was adamantly against it, claiming that if he was required to provide health insurance to his employees, prices would go up by as much as 14 cents per pizza. Anyone who thinks that it is not worth 14 cents to know the person making their pizza has access to health care is mistaken. Later, the CEO was exposed for using a racial slur in a conference call, which further justified my avoidance of the company. Now, that individual is gone and fully divested from the company, but they moved their headquarters out of my city, so I still will not eat their pizza, although this last reason is just petty. Story 43. Walmart has significantly influenced the current economic and political environment on a global scale more than most people realize. Story 44. There is a local restaurant that has had health code issues and has recently been in the news for human trafficking and slavery. Story 45. Uline is a family-owned company with conservative political views. If you are not familiar with them, research how they treat their employees and vendors. Story 46. Uline. Yes, they have everything you need to run your business, from boxes to stairs. They are strongly aligned with right-wing religious groups who see it as a mission to support the Republicans and the church. I strongly disagree with their stance. Story 47. Twitter, Tesla, and anything else associated with Elon Musk. Forget that guy. Nestle because they are very unethical. The Salvation Army, Chick-fil-A, and similar organizations because they are also problematic and disguise it as Christianity. Story 48. Kia, my girlfriend's new 2021 car was stolen easily by breaking one window, removing a fake key insert, and starting it with a USB device. This vulnerability is a problem for any car model, especially one as new as 2021. They are so cheaply made that they couldn't design the key to enter the steering column or include a basic alarm system. Come on. Story 49. Lululemon is the name of the company. The creator named it based on how Asians pronounce the word. He also did not want black people and larger people wearing his clothes. Additionally, it is a subpar product offered at a highly inflated price point. There are far better, higher quality, and lower cost companies to support. Story 50. GameStop. I worked there for a little bit, and this may vary from location to location. When you trade in a game, if it's relatively new and in great condition with the manuals and everything still intact, we would repackage it as new and sell it to customers as a new product. We were expected to sneak subscriptions onto young kids when adults were not present and lie if confronted later, saying the kid must have asked for it and play dumb. If someone who spoke very poor English came in, we would add items to their bill and then tell them they had to take it up with human resources. Even if you were hired for a local GameStop, you were expected to be ready and willing to drive up to 2 hours away to another location to fill in, particularly during events like Black Friday. Women were fired for having babies with absolutely no coverage. If you worked for GameStop for too many years, you were let go before you could claim any benefits. Used game trade-ins that could not be turned into new game sales typically had their cases and manuals discarded. The company is mismanaged, shows a lot of favoritism, and mistreats its employees. I was let go because I refused to participate in most of these practices. Sneaking charges on kids and non-native speakers seemed illegal to me, and I tried to prevent people from buying used games listed as new. I no longer work in retail. I graduated from university and avoid retail like the plague. Story 51. Melinda's Hot Sauces. A woman named Marie Sharp from Belize started making hot sauces and named them after her farm, Melinda. She signed a contract with a US-based distributor, who became the sole distributor internationally. Through legal disputes, they trademarked the brand name for themselves and essentially cut the founder out. After 5 years of legal battles, she relinquished the rights to her brand in exchange for being released from the sole distributor contract. Now she has a new brand named after herself. For hot sauces, Melinda's is bad, and Marie Sharp is good. Story 52. Walmart and Sam's Club. I worked there for 3 miserable, underpaid, and benefitless years at the customer service desk, dealing with difficult customers. Also, the Walton family surely does not need my money. Story 53. World Wrestling Entertainment. Even if you look past the problematic nature of the people that have been on top of it, including human trafficking and racism, which I certainly do not, I cannot overlook the fact that they have been trying to erase and overwrite wrestling history. They are also attempting to become a worldwide monopoly by buying other promotions in foreign countries and either becoming the only wrestling promotion in town, as they are trying in Mexico and have successfully done in the United States, or shutting them down if they cannot, as seen in the United Kingdom. Additionally, they are mostly funded by Saudi Arabian money. I strongly oppose World Wrestling Entertainment. Story 54. I do everything I can to avoid using PayPal. They are dishonest and have wronged me and many others. If you do use them, make sure you do not keep a balance in your account that you would miss if they suddenly decide you violated something in their terms of service and take all your money. In my case, I logged into my account using a virtual private network, which I use for nearly all my web browsing. I was fortunate to have only $150 in the account. Many have suffered far worse, and when sued, PayPal consistently avoids court either through arbitration or settlement. So there is no legal precedent labeling their behavior as illegal, which it is. Do not use them, especially not for a business account, and if you do, keep that account empty. Story 55. Subway. The board of directors knew what Jared was doing for years and continued to use him for marketing. Not one of them thought they should call the police. Story 56. Hobby Lobby has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to fight against paying for birth control for the women who work for them. They took the case to the Supreme Court and won. Not one dime will I spend there. Story 57. Gotcha game companies design their games from the ground up to be as addictive as possible and extract all the time and money from the players. Story 58. Any pyramid scheme multi-level marketing company. My aunt gave me the information of her financial advisor once because I told her I needed one. One of the first things she asked me was if I was interested in working for them as a financial advisor. Ma'am, I'm calling you because I hate and know nothing about finances, and you are ready to hire me to give advice to others? I never called her back. There is no way I would trust any of them to help me with my budget. I did not know Primerica was a multi-level marketing company. It looked like any other legitimate company. Story 59. Wells Fargo kept trying to sign my mother up for a checking account after selling her mortgage to an unreliable holding company. She had been deceased for years when they did this. Story 60. While I have seen many great responses here, I am surprised Bluebell ice cream did not make the cut. 10 years ago, Bluebell knowingly produced and sold ice cream contaminated with listeria and only shut down those facilities to fix the issue after public outrage. While many people I know remain blindly loyal to that brand and consume their products, I can never trust them again. Story 61. Uline, Nestle, Starbucks, Tesla, United Healthcare, American Israel Public Affairs Committee, New Balance, Las Vegas Sands Resorts, OnlyFans. I reluctantly use Home Depot and Menards out of necessity, but I do not support them either. Story 62. 877 cars for kids. Not just because of their jingle, but they support only a very small specific group of children that they try to avoid letting people know about. Story 63. Nestle and subsidiaries are sneaky and underhanded with water rights and engage in unscrupulous behavior. Goodwill has one of the worst grades when it comes to charities and treatment of their workforce. Locks of Love accepts all hair but throws out many donations or sells some to less scrupulous companies. Story 64. Temu sent my items to the wrong address. When they resent them, they sent them to the same incorrect address and charged me for the items I never received. They offered a 10% discount on my next order, which I declined. Story 65. Prime Drinks. I just don't like Paul's. Quick Trip. I worked there for 3 years. Do not apply. 98% of managers are the worst people you have ever met, raising prices but lowering quality. Hewlett-Packard. Their printers are frustrating. I don't know if the creators wake up and think, let's make the most complicated product on earth and have it fail almost 100% of the time. Goodwill used to be good, but now they overprice things and are not ethical. Walmart. I haven't been in one in the last 10 years that wasn't terrifying. I live in the Midwest, so it's not like it's a big city where you would expect unusual people to be there. I genuinely don't feel safe in them for some reason. Also, I thought they were supposed to be cheap, but their groceries cost the same as anywhere else. Overall, Walmart as a company and the people working there are disappointing. Story 66. Anything a Kardashian has created or is promoting, I will not contribute any money to this family because of how problematic they are. Story 67. It is a real shame that many charities use loopholes to enrich their leadership. It is rare to find a genuine charity whose sole purpose is to help others. It is always ownership first, leadership second, and scraps for the actual people in need of services. Honestly, I prefer local domestic abuse shelters and animal shelters where you can see their work in person. Story 68. Pacific Gas and Electric Company caused wildfires that burned a significant percentage of the state. To prevent cuts to executive bonuses, they increased rates 6 times last year. My power bill has gone from $55 per month to $400 per month in under 3 years. Story 69. Hobby Lobby and Chick-fil-A using profits to push a religious agenda is unacceptable for a business. A church, mosque, synagogue, or temple, sure, but not a business. Both of those corporations can keep their views to themselves. Story 70. Sony, oh, let me count the ways. Rootkit fiasco. Removing their advertised ability to boot into Linux on the PlayStation 3. Storing customer passwords in plain text, possibly multiple times. Those are major breaches of trust, not just typical sorry behavior like pushing their proprietary storage mediums all the time. Story 71. Wells Fargo. While I am sure all the national banks have had questionable practices, in the mid-2010s, they created an incentive structure and lacked oversight that led branches to open millions of fake accounts in their existing customers' names. This resulted in some cases in nightmare cleanups of false charges and check systems reports. They were fined $3 billion in early 2020, which is still a small amount for a company of their size. However, more recent reports indicate that these systemic problems continue to occur. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.